Hello again, long time no talk. I got that Cryptid Iceberg series going and just fell off the edge of the earth, didn't I? That was real nice of me. But no, I actually have a very good, very adult and mature reason for vanishing, which we'll get into in a little bit, not a big deal. But I really wanted to end my impromptu hiatus by just jumping right back into the Cryptid series, but I felt kind of weird about doing that without making something more casual first, just to catch up with y'all. So that's what this video is, just a rambly, relaxed sketchbook session to give you some background noise while you do something else, ideally. I guess it's kind of like a journal entry for me, so I can look back and remember what was going on at this time. So if it's not your thing, feel free to ignore this. I'll be getting back into the Cryptid series in the near future. But anyways, I haven't worked very much at all in my sketchbook in months, just a few doodles here and there, so I figured I'd just whip something up to loosen up and brush the dust off my meager filming knowledge, just slowly but surely getting back into the swing of things. So even though I haven't been active on any of my socials, especially Instagram, RIP Instagram, even though I haven't been active on any of my socials, I have been drawing a lot. Just not my usual YouTube-worthy material. I'll get into that later too, but as it relates to this video, I've been drawing a lot of the same thing over and over in a really simple style these past few months. I've been feeling the itch to start practicing again with some amalgamation of my natural style in air quotes, and the more simple style I've been using while I've been gone. So this sketch page is just that, a combination of my more semi-realistic style mixed with something more gestural and quick. It was an experiment for sure, and I had a lot of fun with it even though it's not what I usually try to post here. I chose to go with photos of my dogs as references because I was having a really hard time trying to figure out what to draw for the first video after my hiatus. So this is actually my third attempt at a post-hiatus video, and I was overthinking things super bad. Just not happy with anything I was making, putting a lot of unnecessary burden on myself. If you're an artist, you know how it is. So I thought of the least stressful thing I could draw and settled on my dogs because they make me happy to look at. Can't go wrong with that. So for these little doodles, as you'll see later, I went with a combination of Faber-Castell watercolor pencils and some good old Crayola crayons. I think artists who haven't been inspired to use crayons again after Casey Golden's past year videos are few and far between, and I am not one of them. I passed by the crayons at Walmart the other week and bought them on impulse, and you know what? I've been having a blast with those bad boys. As far as the Faber-Castell watercolor pencils, they're decent. They're really nice for adding quick color to sketches, but I'm not sure I'd use them for an actual standalone piece because they're kind of lackluster in the saturation department. I don't know if I'm just using them wrong, but they seem really washed out to me. I do like the texture a lot though. That's something I've been playing with a lot in my art too these past few months, just adding a lot of different textures to add some interest and dimension, and yeah, I've been enjoying it a bunch. Also, I just want to throw it out there that I've had some major changes in my filming setup since I've been gone. The only things that you guys probably notice are my new lights and my new camera. After not filming for so long and trying to get back into it and using my phone for it, I finally came to grips with the fact that one of the reasons I was dreading filming again, besides not knowing what to draw, is that I just really hated using my phone for it. There were all kinds of issues with it that just made it a hassle to set up every time, like not being able to see what I'm filming while my phone is recording, not knowing if it's even recording, and so on and so forth. So I decided to just get rid of that problem by buying an actual camera just for filming, and y'all, it's so much better. There was a bit of an intimidating learning curve there in the beginning, but I think I've pretty much got the hang of it. Hopefully y'all can see a difference in the quality because I sure can, and I usually don't notice things like that at all. Also, I went with a different editing style for this video as a trial. I usually do my videos time-lapse style, and you see pretty much the entire process. But for this one, I decided to use real-time footage and just make a bunch of cuts to shorten the video to a manageable length. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, go check out my other videos after you watch this one, and you'll see the difference. Also, shameless plug. But yeah, I can see the pros and cons of both editing styles, but I'm really digging this one because I feel like it gives a better sense of how I draw rather than just it looking like I'm doing everything at light speed. Let me know which style of video y'all prefer because that will definitely play a part in how I edit videos in the future. Alright, with all that out of the way, let me tell y'all where I've been. I think I mentioned it before, but my husband and I, like many other people, unfortunately, started looking for a house in June of last year, and right around the time I started the cryptid series, we actually managed to find one. It was one of those things where we saw the listing and we're like, it doesn't check all of our boxes, but we'll go check it out anyways. We saw it and it turns out we liked it a lot more than we thought we would. So then we were like, we'll put in an offer just for funsies. Didn't really expect anything out of it because of how competitive the market is right now, but I think it was like the very next day I got a text saying our offer was accepted. So we were floored, and from the time we saw the house to the time we closed on it took about a month, and as first-time home buyers, let me just tell you, it was rough, even with the great guidance we had. So not so much the process itself, but the sheer amount of anxiety that came with it. And that anxiety was only compounded by the fact that the house we were living in, that we were desperately trying to get out of, started to fall apart big time right as we were starting the purchase of the new house. As in, we could no longer use our kitchen sink because of a plumbing issue that would have cost us about $7,000 to put a band-aid on, or $30,000 to completely fix. So yeah, that was the whole thing. I'm telling you all this because, needless to say, between buying a house and all the turmoil I was in mentally, doing YouTube was just out of the question for me, like completely. I have not been that stressed out since I was doing school and work full-time with a 15-minute commute both ways while trying to juggle my animals and my relationship, etc., etc. That whole month it took to get the house, I was barely sleeping. I was consuming more alcohol in that month than I had in the past 3 years. Like, y'all, I was a mess. I was constantly on the edge of my seat while we were waiting for the loan to go through, just waiting for them to find a reason to be like, sorry, but we can help you. And then we'd be stuck in this house that was falling apart for who knew how much longer. So I quit working in my sketchbook. I quit working on anything for YouTube. Pretty much the only art I could squeak out was mindless ARPG art that was more so about moving my hands to get nervous energy out than it was about, actually enjoying the creative process, if that makes sense. And then when everything went through with the house and we finally got the keys, we hit the ground running hard. We had to build a fence for our dogs before we could even move in. We were painting, building furniture, unpacking, scheduling all the services we needed transferred over, scheduling deliveries for the big items we needed just to have our house function properly, just so many things. So many things. We moved in around mid-November, and it was actually not until the end of December that the to-do list got small enough that we could actually start to relax. It felt like we hadn't had a day off, so the mental and physical exhaustion was real. I didn't even really start thinking about doing YouTube again until January, and that's when the YouTube paralysis kicked in. I feel like before the whole house buying thing, I had kind of gotten into the habit of making videos semi-regularly, but when that happened, I just fell out of the habit so hard that getting back into it seemed like a way bigger task than it needed to be. I knew how to make videos in my old house, in my old workspace. I didn't know how to make videos in my new space. On top of that, I was just like, man, I've been gone so long, I don't even know what to make in order to get back into it. I felt this ridiculous pressure to do something big and extravagant after having not posted anything for so long, even though I hadn't flexed my creative muscles or practiced traditional media for about 2 months, which was so stupid. I don't know why I thought that, but I put this enormous pressure on myself and it just froze me utterly. YouTube was always at the back of my mind, like, I gotta get back into it, I gotta get this done, I'm gonna do it this week and it's gonna be something perfect. Okay, that didn't work, next week then. That didn't work either, I'll do it next week. And so on and so forth. And I felt so guilty whenever I would do anything art-wise that wasn't for YouTube. I was just thinking, if I can do this, then I could have filmed something. I had time to make something nice today, and I just made a million excuses not to. So it was this constant cycle of stacking the odds against myself, wanting to make some over-the-top piece, and then beating myself up when I was too intimidated to do it. And I was aware of this the whole time, but still couldn't pull myself out of it. Like, what? So, like I said earlier, that's how I arrived at just choosing to do a low-key, relaxed sketchbook spread of my dogs. Just took that pressure right away. And like I said a bit ago, while I haven't been doing any kind of art for the sake of creativity or practice or at all pushing myself, I have been doing a lot of art for an ARPG or art-based roleplay game that I play. Since I've mentioned this before, I won't go into specifics about how they work, but the gist of it is that you produce mass quantities of fast, low-quality art to level up your characters essentially. So you're drawing a lot of the same creatures and prompts over and over and over. It doesn't require much thought or originality, and that might sound boring to a lot of people, but for me, I absolutely love it. I love churning out mass quantities of low-pressure art to meet all these goals in the game. It's one of the biggest mood boosters ever, which was another reason it's been so hard for me to get back to drawing stuff that actually challenges me. Another unforeseen consequence of doing so much fast art is that it's really made me question where I want to go with my style. I feel like at one time I used to take pride, not necessarily enjoy, but just take pride in taking my time with my art and going at a painstakingly slow pace to make something that was as close to exact as I could get it. I think part of that was because I didn't think I could ever learn to draw quickly, and it wasn't even an option for me. But since I have learned to draw quickly recently, I've come to the realization that I have a lot more fun when I can draw things close to the same speed as I can think them. I have no idea if this makes any kind of sense, but my brain feels like it's constantly going 1,000 miles per hour. That's just how I am. I have a really hard time slowing down. I didn't start realizing until recently that doing art in a more precise and detailed-oriented style just doesn't really seem to fit me or how my brain works. I've been using the relaxed setting of ARPG art to experiment more with my style than I ever have before. Just finding different ways to stylize the same creatures, experimenting with how I like to make marks, what colors I like to use, all that. When I first started seriously learning how to draw, I followed a lot of concept artists and just artists who were professionals who were essentially required to make polished pieces. So in surrounding myself with all of this perfect finished work, I think I got stuck in the mindset that that was the only way to make art. It wasn't until the past couple years that I started to shift and really vary the types of artists whose content I absorbed, and also immersing myself in an artistic outlet that encourages rough artwork. It's been extremely liberating for me to practice and get more comfortable drawing in a simplistic and energetic way. I've learned that I just really don't like spending a lot of time defining forms and making things look finished. I like getting basic forms down enough to where the subject is recognizable, but not 100% fleshed out. Some more sketchy stuff with a lot of colors and textures and a more mixed media look. I'm the type of person who can't have just one style though, so while I'm definitely going to be changing things up from piece to piece, I do want to shift my overall focus toward more intuitive, sketchy drawing rather than polished pieces. So with that, I think I've just about talked through everything that's been going on these past few months. I'm looking forward to making content for YouTube again now that I'm in a better space mentally and physically. Like literally, I have a much better filming space than I did in the old house. Not only do I have a lot more room to work with, but the upgrades I've made to my workspace, especially as far as streamlining things, has made things so much easier. Before, it was such a pain to film because I was in a cramped little corner of my room and I was always having to worry about not making a bunch of noise while filming and doing voiceovers because my husband is a night shift worker. Now, not only is the house almost 3 times bigger, but I'm also on the complete opposite side of the house from him when I film, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Plus, like I said earlier, my phone setup was so tedious and annoying and there were so many steps involved in just setting up. Now I can just put my camera on a stand and turn it on and hit record, and the setup process is a lot less daunting. And now instead of having my art supplies spread across 2 rooms, I have everything easily accessible in one workspace, and not only that, but I have space to have pretty much everything in full view. In the old house, I had to cram a lot of my art supplies in boxes and bins where I couldn't see it, so I just forget that it existed. If I can't see something, it's gone from my memory. That's it, gone. But here I can spread everything out. It's all in full view. I can easily grab something if I want to work in mixed media. So overall, it's a much more friendly setup to my creative process. And yeah, I think a lot of good and fun things are in store for the future of the channel. It's good to be back. Alright everyone, we are drawing near to the end of the video here. I am so relieved to have finally gotten this video out. Apologies for just disappearing with no warning. Hopefully nothing like that will happen again in the near future. I don't think my heart could take that amount of stress again anytime soon. As a creature of habit, I can't tell you how nice it is to finally be getting back into a routine and doing everything I used to do in the old house in the new house, and more easily at that. Getting back into YouTube feels like one of the final steps to settling in 100%. It's something that I honestly enjoy doing, and in spite of needing the break, I did miss creating content a lot. I'm hoping to get into some semblance of a regular upload schedule, especially as far as the cryptid series is concerned. Continuing with that series is most likely going to be the next upload I do, but I'm not really sure yet which creature I'm going to tackle next off of Tier 1. We'll see. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Quick shout out to all the new subscribers I've gotten while I've been gone. I appreciate y'all so much, and I've also been reading comments. Now that things have settled down on my end, I'll be able to reply to comments as they come in again. So with that, I'm going to leave you all to enjoy whatever footage is left in the video. Thank you for watching and listening to me ramble, and I'll see you all in the next one.